Hi, everyone. I'm Dawn McCarty. Welcome to Silent Voices.
And I'm Caroline Rena, and today our special guest, I really think this is a powerful conversation that we're going to have, is Junior Witter, and he's from Ontario, Canada. So we're worldwide again today. And he is going to be sharing some things about his healing journey and his advocacy that has stemmed from what he's gone through. And welcome, Junior. We're so glad you're here today.
Thank you. Appreciate the welcome. I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to be in the presence of Miss Dawn and Miss Caroline here, all the way up from Canada. It is not cold up here, guys, by the way. It's pretty hot and about 33 on the motorcycle, 33 degrees on the motorcycle today. So, yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's Celsius.
We're sending a little bit of our
Celsius,
depression your way, so you should be getting some rain or wind or something soon.
Oh yeah, that's coming up. Actually, yeah, we did have some of that effect, but yeah, we're supposed to be getting some more today.
Yeah,
Awesome.
Good thing we got rid of
Florida.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah. So, today, as we normally do, we're going to ask basically the same types of questions for our guest. And to start out, I'd like for you to talk about however you want to, a bit of your story, your backstory of what you went through and what provoked your healing journey from that story.
Well, simply put, I've been in and out of court for about the past 8 years. Was in court recently in March for a settlement conference that pretty much went nowhere. But before that, I had decided that, I'm going to start healing. This was about just before I met my wife, and we've been married for 4 years now. But it's been a great journey, an interesting journey, so to say. A journey where, my eldest daughter has pretty much floated away. I wouldn't say she's alienated, but she's being gate-kept against her own wishes. But at the same time, I know that I've had to do things that, to be the non-selfish parent here and to look at the bigger picture, and to just set myself and my family on a course where if she does come back and when she does come back, that we're good to accept her, and there's no animosity or anything from the whole situation, because that can be really a traumatic situation for a child to come back to. We just don't want to have that for her or for my other 2 children. I have two younger children for my wife, and the reason why I decided to continue down this journey, because they were seeing a lot of things from the whole situation that a child shouldn't have to go through. Mm-hmm. So that's basically it. That's what provoked me into, as you say, into the journey of healing, to a point where now I'm able to more than help other people, help the movement move along where it needs to be.
I think you're at a good place right now. What I like what you said is that you made the decision to basically make your family healthy, so that when she does want to come back, she has a safe place to come and doesn't have to deal with the drama that can be caused by a lot of this. You've kind of healed past that, and it'll be a place that's welcoming and unconditional for her.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she has been here. She was last year in April, and she has her own room and so forth, and she's very accustomed to being around us. It just when the other side gets into a whole commotion about this and that, that's when we say, okay, that's enough, and we're not going to participate in that whole matter, and take a step aside, because going through that whole emotion for a child, knowing that they're being abused, for wanting to love the other parent, is just too detrimental for them to go through. So I've made the conscious decision to not be selfish in all this, and to say, enough is enough. Regardless of whatever the courts want to say or do, you just have to make that conscious decision that the child is more important than you,
And that's not an easy decision. I mean, you really are putting the child first when making this decision, right? It's
right,
not something that just is easy for you to do.
right. Then not everyone can go into family court and
Yeah.
necessarily get the best result for their child, right? A lot of us don't, because the system is, I wouldn't say, it is geared against, there is a special interest in there, and there's a reason why things happen the way they do. And it's just tough to deal with. A lot of us parents that have gone through this, think about the suicides and so forth, and especially the fathers that are out there, when they start going through this, and those are the fathers, I set time aside to speak to and help them go through the motions of how they're feeling and how to actually deal with it.
That's very powerful when you say that, that you set yourself up to help them with the emotions and feelings, because in generally in our society, it's getting better, but not so much, like our generation, we grew up, men were, and I'm sure, I know it still happens, but now that there's, it seems like the millennials are more willing to connect with their feelings and be able to do that. But there's a whole generation, especially of fathers, that were never taught that. You can't cry, you're a sissy, all this stuff. And that's not fair, because especially when you're going through something like this, how do you connect with your feelings so you can even be a part of your child's life unless you do the healing work? And the fact that you're out there supporting that is huge, because fathers need to be able to connect to their hearts, because especially with children, when children are involved, so that's very powerful. Thank you.
Well, we can't dull the senses. You got to be able to feel. So when we tell fathers, stop doing that, stop acting like that, stop being emotional, we're dulling their senses, and they need those senses so that they can love. And it's a balance. It takes both. You got to have that free flowing of emotion to really connect, and we shouldn't be telling anybody.
And my advice just doesn't go for fathers. It goes for mothers too, that want to take advantage of the system or want to do this and say that this father's doing this. I'm like, no, you need to focus on the child. Bring your case back to middle ground, right? Back to center, right? And look from the aspect of the child and what exactly you're doing, because what you're doing is not going to help, right? We have what was called Children's Aid Society up here, which is Child Protective Services, and there are mothers out there that have their kids in foster care, right? And so I have to now look at it from their perspective and say, hey, maybe there's a reason why they look to you a certain way, and you need to basically bring your case back to middle ground and stop trying to overemphasize certain things. Mm-hmm. So those are the type of discussions that I like to have with people, not just fathers, but also mothers too. So
well, that's a great thing there too, because I know as a guardian ad litem that the parents are often confused and they don't have anybody really telling them how they should be acting. They have a parenting plan. They're supposed to accomplish these goals, but they don't really have, the how-tos, or why, why do I have to wait for this period of time? Or why can't we just go do this or go back to court? Why can't I just go take that test? Sometimes they just need somebody there that can explain that process so that they can reduce the anxiety, because I see a lot of parents that are just racked with anxiety over this. They're just their minds are just blown over the fact that it's even happening to them. So they don't understand it. So it's good to have someone like you.
Mm-hmm. And I'd like to bring something back around to the children, because that's basically what Silent Voices is about. The long-term, effects for the kids is that when you're getting a divorce, you're going to go through feelings. You're going to go through anger. You're going to go through sadness. You're going to go through shame. You're going to go through blame. You're going to go through all kinds of stuff. I mean, there's like this whole, ladder of things that you're going to go through. The thing that we need to remember, and I think that would help you to put yourself in a position of putting the child first, is that, guess what? The child is going through the same types of feelings. Just because you're doing it doesn't mean that they're not. And a lot of people don't remember that, because when you get into anger, you're so stuck inside of yourself that you don't even look outside to see that there's anybody else out there. And that's part of the problem with why a lot of us get divorced, is because we're just so focused on our, whatever we're feeling, that other person, nobody exists anymore out there. The challenge is to be able to step back from that, observe what you're doing, and notice that the children are going through that.
Yeah.
And so that's where you can come in, I think, for the parents to be able to see something like that as well, because it sounds like that's what you do for yourself, to get there, to recognize that and get there for you.
Right. And through that, I also learned from myself is how to navigate my own situation, given what's tossed in front of my face, right? So it's a win-win situation when you do help someone else. And that's what I encourage other parents to do is,
Yeah.
if you're struggling, why don't you try, trying to help someone else? Because when I was going through this at first, I had not much help. I was just talking to my lawyer, and he's a nice guy, but at the end of the day, it's really up to me to figure this out, right? Because the whole system is a profession.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I met, I have a close friend of mine. His name is Mark Donaldson. He coached me through a lot of, he's been through it. He didn't actually go to court, but he understands the dynamics of the whole situation with family court and family law. And he helped me a lot going through my own situation, how to deal with it, how to manage it, and so forth. So I just want to put that, pass it forward to other parents and help them along, and hopefully they can coach other parents, because the system is broken. It's not helping families the way it needs to be, and mental health is not there yet. I thank God for people like Dr. Childress and the movie Racing Family. That was great. My daughter watched it. She thought it was phenomenal. You were phenomenal, Caroline, in there, and very inspiring for her. And the feedback that she gave me was like, okay, well, not just from the movie, but from the trailer. She saw the trailer. She's like, Daddy, when am I going to see this movie? It's coming out soon. I don't know when. So,
that's so awesome. I love that. And I think that's important. The whole purpose behind the movie anyway is to get these kids to see that what they've been told is totally untrue about the other parent. Yeah. So that's
she was able to relate. She was able to relate to the children and the teenagers in the film, and saw herself there. I was pretty amazed at what she told me.
That's exactly how I felt too when I watched it. I related more to the kids because, of course, that's the perspective I bring into this. And one of the things you mentioned, Caroline, is when people don't consider how the kids are feeling, that is a huge disconnect in having that open dialogue and communication with children. Now, they may not understand to the degree that we do, but they do understand hurt. They do understand pain. They do understand anger, and it's frightful for them. So by people thinking that the children, we don't need to consider their feelings because they're only children, they won't get it. They're going to get it one way or the other. So it's best to at least help them through it and be there for them.
Mm-hmm. Well, the hardest thing about it, and you said they understand the feelings. I just watched a show the other day that the younger they are, like maybe 0 to 6, there is no understanding of feelings. What they understand is what they see. Everything a child at that age sees is what they see. Daddy fighting. Yeah. So I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah, because what happens, I'm angry as a child. I'm just saying that they know that that's something that's very confusing and frightful for them.
Yeah, it feels off. It feels oogie. That's basically what it is. And it's like they feel this feeling. They don't know what it is, and they stuff it down, and then they don't know what to do with it. And the people around them are losing their minds, and they don't know what to do with that. So it's just they're seeing all these things happening, and that's what you're trying to help protect these kids from that.
Right. I find that with a lot of children that go through the system, the more interaction that they have with professionals, the worse they can get. And that's what I want to guard my daughter away from, and other families as well. Professionals, the better the children end up. And I have Don, you were alienated. I'm sure you went through this, but I have other good friends that have gone through this, and I also get coaching from them as well on how to deal with my own situation. But I take their coaching and relay it to other parents, and hopefully help them along. But that's one thing I found, that the less interaction from professionals, the better as an adult that child ends up as.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Not to say that it's not necessary, because in such situations like severe parental alienation, it is necessary. But when you have the wrong, especially the wrong professionals interacting with those children, like Child Protective Services and some others that just do it for the money, that can be very detrimental for children.
Absolutely. Even the wrong therapist or the wrong, psychologist that's evaluating the case, or even that can lead to that as well.
I wish there was a way that like we could, I'm not that person, but I'm throwing it out there, that we could interview these professionals to know whether they're even capable, or if they're, like, a lot of mental health professionals who are helping may have also gone through something similar to this that triggers them, and they have their piece of whatever it is that they're bringing into it, or whatever might have happened to them, because most people in the healing practices in mental health have generally had something happen to them, and that's why they're doing it. So they can get triggered. So they may be getting triggered by the parent or whatever, who knows? I mean, there's a whole bunch of things happening, and then they put their input into it, and their input could be coming from, it could be coming from a totally negative place. And that's not what we want. I mean, okay, from my perspective, that healing is about love. It isn't about telling somebody to do this and telling somebody to do this, and whatever it is that we're doing with these parents and these children. I don't see that as how we heal. Right. I see learning how to love ourselves, which is very challenging because of what we've been taught.
Right.
And I want to flip this back to
wait, before you go there, I just wanted to add something.
Now we're getting used to this. Go ahead.
We just had a show recently, I think it was with Elise, where we were talking about how it is totally fine to call up, and I'm talking about the parents, to call up a mental health expert and ask them questions. And there's a series of questions that they should be asking, and that it's totally appropriate to, come in, meet them, and then go to someone else next time until you find the right person before you tell them the whole story. Because once you tell them the whole story, it gets harder to think about going somewhere else, because I don't want to start over again. So before you share your story, go in and find out if you like them. Just talk to them about anything but your story.
Yeah.
So you can kind of evaluate, are you going to click? Is this person going to see something you don't like? Ask them questions. Do you know anything about parental alienation? Have you had any experiences? Have you helped anybody? And was it successful? Mm-hmm. These are important questions, and it's totally appropriate for you to do.
What do you do, though, if it's a court-ordered therapist?
Oh, wow.
There's got to be something.
Beat him over the head and say, "This is my story. Listen to me now."
Right, exactly. Like, how do you deal with something? Because normally the court-ordered therapists don't have any idea what they're doing when it comes to them.
Who picks that person?
I don't.
I can tell you my own situation. What I did, basically, I started to pick them apart. I asked them if they knew about gatekeeper. I give them the buzzwords.
Oh, and they're the same thing then.
DSM-5 and everything under the sun. Right? Started questioning their own biases and so forth. Right? Mm-hmm. I give them scenarios. Well, what would you do with this? Right? And then from that you would figure out whether they were really legit, or whether they were someone of double standards and trying to play the part.
So would you have to go back to court to get another therapist, or how would that work?
Well, I just ended the session after that. Once I
and you're done.
No, just
done. Okay.
I said basically you go back to the judge saying session didn't work.
Okay. All right. Well, then there's the answer. There's the answer. That's it. Good. So you've obviously experienced this then.
Good. Yeah.
Wow.
Whether it's mediation or whatever, you can just say this is what happened in mediation, and this was the result, and we're no further close. We haven't gone any further, and there's nothing more else to talk about. Let's go to trial.
So were you centered enough and healed enough by that point where you were able to do that? Okay, so you had already done some of your healing work to be able to do that, because like I remember for me at the very beginning, if something like that had happened, I was like all in my, fear and everything and crying and doing all, there was like no way my frontal lobe would click in and tell me to do something like that and be able to stay in that. So having said that, your healing journey, what did you do? What are the tools that you've pulled from that? How did you get to that space where you were able to stand up and say, oh, that's not going to work. Sorry. Cause it's hard to do that when you're in the middle of it. You're in a stress response and fight or flight, and you don't know what to do. You can't run, you can't hide, you can't yell, you can't scream, you can't fight, you can't do anything.
I created a good community around me, a good support system of people. That's what took me through the whole struggle. As I said, I met my wife 4 years ago through Tinder.
Tinder, okay.
I swiped right up and now we have children. So.
That's a good one. I like that. I never heard that one before.
New on Silent Voices.
She is one of my rocks, as well as her mother, who's also a life coach, certified. She did her life coach, whatever, and those are the people I surround myself around. Those people that that have more than common sense. They have love and compassion.
They believe in you, and they can hold that space for you.
Right. As long as you're a person of integrity and a person that can stand up and so forth, you'll always get support. It matters on who you are and how you are around people. And if you're just going to be in the gutter 100% of the time, and people can't see you for who you possibly could be as a beacon of light for others, then those people are not going to help you as much as they could be.
They try though. Like what happens is when someone's in that bitterness space, people try to help, but it's so frustrating for the people who are trying to support someone who's bitter, because it almost like repels people and they walk away. So if you've ever noticed that, you keep trying, all these people are trying to help, and then all of a sudden people leave, that's something going on inside of you personally that's causing that. And that's the reason why it's necessary to make a decision to heal and change that behavior. Because if you don't, you're going to be alone, and you don't want that. You want to be surrounded by a support system, and you've got to also pay attention to that type of thing.
Right. For myself, when I do support someone, if that person is not willing to be supported, then I have to walk away, because then that becomes a toxic situation for myself, trying to help them. Right.
And sometimes
I don't have any hair left in my head, so that's the pull. Right?
Do you find it difficult? Do you find it difficult, or do you find it frequently that there are people that are really hard to help, that they're not really in that space yet?
No, I don't find that. Everyone has their nuances, and everyone has their levels of interaction.
You just have to find out where you can
find out where that is.
Where they are.
It does take time, but myself, I am still learning how to do that. I've been told I'm pretty good at it, but I don't feel like I'm a Dr. Tori or anyone that does it professionally.
That does not matter. You know what? You just said the key word to me, and I was like, oh my God. Okay. So what's happening is, because of who you are, because of what the work that you have done,
you're an influencer.
Your energy, you attract people to you who you can work with, and they see you as a beacon. They see you as someone who can help them. Because we attract where we are at. So if we're here, we're going to attract people down here. If we're up here in the light, we're going to attract that too. Even if someone's having trouble, there's still more in the light. So that's what you're doing. That's who you are. You're like shining love out there, and people can feel that and see
It
that.
elevates them. It makes them want to come
Yeah.
to meet you.
Yeah.
Well, and that's exactly it. You're good point, Donna. Because when I do that, I find that I get a lot of love and help in return,
Yes.
which is more than rewarding, and it happens every day to me.
Yes. And that's the thing.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. And what's really important is that humans, all we want is to give and receive love. And it's all about that. And the only way to do that is to raise that love, because you can give and receive shame. You can give and receive fear. You can give and receive anger, but we don't want that stuff. We want that that love. So that's why this is happening.
Right.
For you, to you, with you.
This is your way of influencing people how to rise above their pain.
Yeah.
Find their healing power, because we have to heal ourselves.
Mm-hmm. And you're like a lighthouse. I see you as this like really cool little lighthouse, just shining your light all around.
Same to you, Caroline, and same to you, Don. The Racing Family movie was very influential, and Don, I've been following you for some time, probably about a year.
In a while, yeah.
On Twitter. I think I found you on Twitter first.
Yep, Twitter first. Yep.
Yeah, and then from that Facebook, and then you all of a sudden became part of the NPO. I was like, wow, okay, she's really moving. Maybe I need to do something too.
To jump in. I just jumped in.
And so that's good. And I'm glad we have that connection. And we're just gonna move the stick further ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you want to ask him something before I go on to the next question?
No, I was just thinking, he's actually been one of my biggest supporters out there. So thank you. I appreciate that.
That's so awesome. Look, okay, revel in that. Let's take a moment.
Here, I'll give you some insight. One of the reasons why I started really engaging with you and following you on Twitter was because you came up from a perspective of what I was looking for. What does an adult or a child see from this particular situation? You gave me that perspective, so I thank you for that.
That's exactly what I'm here.
Thank you for your voice.
Thank you.
You're helping a lot of people.
Oh, thank you. That's why I'm here, though. I'm here to share that voice and the voice of others until they have their voice. So if they can't use their voice right now, I am their voice.
Yeah, and politicians need to hear that voice. The judges need to hear that voice.
I'm working on some stuff.
Yeah. Well, that's the whole reason why this.
We all are.
Yeah.
We
Well,
should
and
talk
that's the
about
thing.
offline.
Yeah, we'll talk.
We have more stuff. Well, I'm connecting you with a whole nother thing about, connecting people who are doing things like this. With like she and I are working with Danica on Guardians and Gatekeepers.
Yeah, we don't have boundaries here. We work with anybody and everybody that can help us, and it's a huge movement, and we're all just doing our piece.
And bringing I think the most important part
Now you're one of us.
Is we're pulling you in now. Welcome to the band. Hugs, group hug.
I love it.
That's too funny. Yeah, that's so cool. I really like that. What you said about Dawn, because I can't even imagine. Well, I kind of sort of went through it like that, but I didn't experience it the same way that Dawn did and some of these other kids that are going through it. And, but as a parent, I'll get that aspect in there again. It's when you don't understand what your child is going through and you were able to pull that from Dawn, then you don't know what to do with that. Mm-hmm. And the challenge is, like, especially when you've got this 50-50 custody or any custody going on, where the child comes to you and gets settled in and gets into a space of seeing how things should work, could work, whatever that is that it looks like. And then when they're done with that visit, then they go back into that environment and then they see that other side. And that's why they're so confused in my mind, is because they keep seeing that side, and then they come in and they see the truth. And that's very heartbreaking and hard for children, and Dawn, I know Dawn's story, it's penetrating. It's deep in the spirit of a child, and that's just like
never ending. It never goes away. It's constant.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
and it's the
uh,
truth. The truth is what's really weighed here. So now everything I do, I have to analyze it, and I have to determine what I feel is true and not true. So
Well,
it severely impacts.
that's where, because before we even started this show, we were talking about complex PTSD, because we still, like, I had an experience this morning. Dawn said she had one this morning, and Junior said he had something happen last night, and it's like, well, I don't know what's going on, something with the cars, whatever, but it's like,
in the universe.
we're all going through something, so that's proof that it's like you still have to keep working through it and getting through it and getting through the process of whatever trauma that happened as a child, whether it's parental alienation or something or anything,
Right.
and all of this stuff, unfortunately, like parental alienation, some other things, is generational. So that's even deeper, and it's not easy to get rid of. It's not easy to integrate that and heal from that. However, making this decision, to do that is important.
Well, and that's what we're working on, right? We're working on securing and building the future of our children and their children. So it's not going to fix it for us.
Mm-hmm.
But we're wanting to fix it so that those generations don't have to regurgitate that transgenerational issue and repeating it over and over again.
So there was one instance where I'm going to give you guys a story, where I was actually doing a presentation at a school, school council, on parental alienation and what's that about. Because here we're trying to get into the education system, get it with the social workers and so forth. So I showed the trailer for Racing Family, and all the parents there were so touched and so forth. And the vice principal, she was like 50 years old, and she went on and talked to me and pulled me aside and told me how that trailer brought her back to just recently when her father had come over and visit. And her mother had called her and told her, how dare she do that? Like, it's just a cycle that you keep, as you said, Dawn, you keep children, no matter what age they are, will keep experiencing because that parent is just that type of parent.
Yep. And once that trust is violated, you will reanalyze everything they say for the rest of your life.
Right. Well, it also, it's a trigger to the parent, the alienating parent, even at the age of the principal, because the alienating parent still has their own issues, feeling like, oh my God, you're abandoning me. Don't go over there. I can't.
And enmeshment too.
Yeah, and that's what's going on inside of them. So they don't know how to handle it. So that's what they do. I'm not saying it's right by any means, but that's where it comes from. It's their own inner child that never was healed.
The beauty of the story you just told me is that this is what the film is all about. This is what us sharing these stories is all about, is that we're reaching people just like her that says, oh, wow, light bulb. We have that aha moment, and that's how we're changing the hearts through film and through sharing our own stories. So we're telling stories and we're sharing these films so that we can wake something up in people to realize, oh my gosh, that happened to me.
Mm-hmm. And it's interesting because a lot of people don't know what the words are. They don't know what the label is, whatever that label, there's so many different labels for parental alienation now, but a lot of people don't know what it is, but when you explain it or you show the trailer, or they're like, oh my God, that happened to me personally, and I didn't even know that's what was going on.
Did you explain it to her? Did you have a longer conversation?
I didn't have to. She understood it right away. She has 3 other sisters that she grew up with, and she was able to understand. She should thank God for her sisters, because if they weren't a unit, then it would have been a lot worse, right? They would have been.
Yeah.
Did you send her the link so you can watch the whole film now for free on Tubi?
You know what? That's a good point. I will do that.
Yep, Erasing Families is now free on Tubi. I don't have the link, but we'll put it in here. So everybody can access it. But yeah, send it to her and let her watch the whole film now.
Yeah, I'll actually send it to the entire student. School.
You know what? Speaking of which, and I'm not trying to force any of this, but this is something that I was talking to somebody else about for a meetup group in Tampa, and potentially having this happen. But even because we have Zoom now, somehow, I don't know how we would do it. Maybe it would be like showing the film first and then doing some sort of a panel after it. there's no reason why we couldn't be part of a panel discussion with them, Dawn, after the showing, after watching the film, you know, or maybe doing, I don't know how you do the whole film, honestly.
Go watch the film, the film before this date so they can work it into their schedules. And then we'll have a panel discussion at this time.
Right. I think we did. Ginger did that recently, right? She had a panel.
I was doing something, yeah.
I haven't. Yeah, I don't know, but I think it'd be kind of cool to have a panel discussion on Zoom after they watched it.
And that's why she has us, because she can't be everywhere or do every single one. So that's why she has the ambassadors and stuff like that.
Yes, I was an ambassador once. Well, I think I still am.
Are you still not? Are you not?
I still am. Yeah, sorry. Yes.
Good. Yeah. So you can actually sit on a panel as well.
Yeah, I will.
We'll take that into consideration. I mean, it's open to, you know, the people that you are connected with up there, and we could get the word out more. And, you know, I mean,
yeah, you can join ours. We'll come join yours if you need extra people.
Yep. I'll work on it. Definitely.
Yeah. However that.
Well, that's good. You got it in the school systems. That's a.
No, we haven't got it. We're working together.
You're working on it though, but that's still a huge accomplishment that you actually got it in there. That, you know, at least to see the trailer and people are interested, because that's really the hardest part, is getting that one meeting in the door. Mm-hmm. So that's a good achievement.
So that can actually lead to the next question, because that's what he's doing. So why don't you go into, aside from helping us out with a racing family, what other ways are you advocating? And you started to go into it a little bit at the beginning, but what other ways are you advocating for others as a result of your healing?
Well, I'm the communications guy for Equal Shared Parenting for Children, which is EPFC. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter. Down you see our posts. Which is it's an advocacy organization that basically, you know, we just share the awareness. We want to work more with the education system. We working with the MPs and MPPs up here, our politicians and so forth, to try to create more of a following, but more of getting parents at the table of some of these legislative decisions that are being made. And get into the ears of a politician. And also we want to do more events and so forth, and that's why I reached out to the Racing Family folks and became an ambassador to do actually some of the screenings and so forth in schools and so forth. So now that it's free, I'll start getting back on that bandwagon and communicating that out through those channels.
Yay.
I also do work with the board member with the Canadian Equal Parenting Council, which is our version of the Americans for Shared Parenting, or the NPO, National Parent Organization up here. It's a federation of 26 plus organizations within Canada. It's a more of a federal run organization, and their voice is more political than advocacy. We have groups like Lawrence for Shared Parenting, that's part of the Women for Shared Parenting, Leading Women for Shared Parenting, Canadian Association for Equality. There's several different organizations that are part of this.
Wow.
So are you like NPO and like Americans for Equal Shared Parenting, we're talking with legislators, state and federal, to get equal shared parenting, that rebuttable presumption of equal shared parenting, so that parents are equal, right? As well as having as close to 50-50 time share planning, depending on, the family dynamics, but as close to that as possible. So is it doing the same thing where they're trying to get those laws passed as well?
Right. So recently we had a Divorce Act amendment. Members of the organizations did represent federally. It's kind of mixed results out of that. And basically, yes, provincially, we have provinces instead of states here. We do the same thing as well.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Good. Wow. Maybe we can have the whole North American continent with
Yeah,
this?
we are connected. We have been talking with some of your writers and so forth to pretty much relay information or pieces between the two countries because we are very similar in some of the aspects, but also different.
Mhm.
So there is some translation, some legalese translation that has to be done between our two countries.
That's the same here, even between one state and another state. Because
Yes.
states are totally individual. And then we have even the county levels, and then you have the city levels. So it gets really crazy when you're trying to get everybody on the same page.
Right.
Mhm.
And we're also connected with the UK and Australia as well. So we're
Yeah.
working
Awesome.
those
Awesome.
organizations there. So that's what I do in a nutshell. So my day is filled.
Can you go in more when we first started talking, kind of get an idea like how you help people meet professionals so they can get connected with them? Because I think that's really powerful. I mean, you're taking time to care about someone enough to just kind of like I don't want to call it networker. I want to call it connector. You're just connecting souls together to help each other and helping people get through.
Connecting people.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm looking at the soul level because that's what I do all the time. So I go there, and you know that, and that's what I'm going to say. So go ahead.
So when I want to say professionals, it might not be an actual professional like a Dr. Childress per se. It might be someone that knows how to do something in IT that can help the movement. It might be someone that's a good communicator, someone that's an actor that can
Lawyer, yeah.
Yeah. So when I say professional, it just means someone that might have some expertise in one area.
Exactly.
Right?
The subject matter expert of whatever that topic is.
Right.
I mean, you need all these people. We need anybody who does anything.
We need lawyers. We need everyone. We need
I was just going to say that. It's like lawyers, accountants,
we need lawyers. We need social workers. We need everybody. We need academia as well. So anyone that's willing to work in the benefit of children and
for the real benefit of the children, for their real best interests. Yeah.
Real best interests.
And and I think I want to define that. So when I hear people say the best interest of the child, we're not talking about who's the better parent. We're talking about the real best interest of the child is also inclusive of those long-term effects. So what happens today, is it going to affect them in 20 years? And that is the real, best interest of the child, is how are they going to become, upstanding citizens, good parents, good partners, good, that they can actually build those kind of successful relationships. That is the best interest of the child.
Right.
Well, that's just the whole point of having children and being a parent.
Yeah, but that's not how it is.
I know. It's like we have children, we want to raise them, we want to see them, prosper and live and grow.
Upside down.
Yeah, what's wrong with it's like we're trying to teach common sense. How do you do that?
Well, children need both parents. They need both parents, and if they can't be both in the same home, they still need both parents in a home that they can still access. And sometimes children have two homes, and they do adapt to that. And I'll tell you, they'll adapt to that 100% more than they would be able to adapt to one just missing.
And they've also, you probably can vouch for this too. They know their energy is like aware enough where they know that with the parents in the same house doing this, they'd rather see their parents working together and loving them. Yeah, okay, I get that it's a pain in the butt to have to go from one house to another every other week or every week, whatever that is, whatever the plan ends up being.
Child, I would rather go from one house to another than not see one of them at all ever.
Well, heck yeah, and here's something that a lot of the people that work with the kids say. It's like, well, that means you get two of everything. Come on.
Well, exactly. And you're exactly right. Children can pick up really bad habits if the two parents are going at it, or one parent is going at it.
And then you teach them that that's okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the other parent might teach them that that's okay. Don't, like, quote from my ex, don't break her fighting spirit. Like, what do you mean by that?
Right. Well, and even just watching you know, the deterioration, I'll just say the deterioration of the relationship, that if one parent allows that, and it's not really allowing, if that is happening, the children are learning how to deal with that kind of conflict, and that may be what they end up doing. So that's not always a good thing either, because you don't want to put your children in a position where they may be the ones suffering at that same level.
100%.
And children don't know
these situations.
Yeah. Children not only inherit
2 homes, then have one and have that conflict.
Right.
Let me rephrase.
I wanted to add about
had a loving home with both parents first.
Well, yeah, let's try that one out.
At least one home with that where there's love there. Children need love.
Yeah.
Children need love, and the more love that they can have, never remove love.
I'm going to say this. My stepmother said this even while we were going through all this stuff, and it makes perfect sense. Love multiplies, it doesn't subtract.
Yeah. And what I would really like the judges and the mental professionals and the CPS people, what I'd really like them to understand from a child's perspective is that if anybody is saying, they're just terrible, we need to remove them, that should be the biggest red flag you've ever seen, because anybody asking to remove a loving parent, that is a problem. And it really needs to be addressed. So if that parent is showing up and they're present, they want to be involved, and they're doing the best that they can to fight for that, then you got the other one saying, no, I want them gone. Hello, pay attention to what's really going on here. You should be able to see this. It's very simple that one parent's trying to cut out the other parent. It's pretty cut and dry as far as that goes. So anytime someone is saying get rid of someone else, or let's just pick the better parent, that's the wrong course to go.
Right, and the other parent might need some coaching, might need some help. Not necessarily therapy, but someone from the community to help them along to understand what parenting really is about. Like there are parenting coordinators out there, which did help. My situation, not particularly with me, but with my ex. I'll give you my own personal experience, because I did meet this parent coordinator. I met them once, and they told me I didn't need to come back again. But everyone is different. Everyone parents differently, and some parents would need that kind of help to be able to look after those children.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so both parents should be included in all of these. So I don't understand the process of removing one parent and letting one parent take over all of that responsibility.
But you do understand, why this is happening.
I know why, but I just can't wrap my head around it for real.
Okay, so here's the thing: someone with common sense who has compassion doesn't understand why someone else would do something like that to a child. Is that right?
Right, but you're correct. But these are the discussions you have to have with parents to get them through whatever situation they're in. Because telling them that the situation is not valid, it's going to be okay, blah blah. It's not really helping them, and that's one thing I found for my own self. I've seen like 7 different psychologists, therapists, whatever you want to call them, and they all told me my anger was valid. How does that really help me, right? You have to give people the reality of the situation that they're in and reasons why they're in that situation in order for them to understand and actually heal themselves, instead of giving them a cookie cutter solution or putting a Band-Aid on it and so
they basically validate you. Yeah, they validate your feelings, but they don't really help you.
Right, exactly.
Well, that's usually what happens, because most people don't really know how to help. They get it because they can feel it, but then they don't know what to say to you, and you're like, okay, now what am I supposed to do?
Because there is no help for them. The courts are not it. Right? There's no help for
100%.
apart from going to court.
Yep.
I like the idea of, when we've discussed it recently, Caroline, of having a team. So you're not just an attorney. You need a team. You need someone that can mediate, someone that, like a divorce coach, someone that can help you go through that process, someone that can understand or interpret what did that person say? You know, what was that mental health or that evaluation? What did that mean? What did, you know, that translation could really be helpful for someone that has a team of people that could be present with them
Mhm.
through the process.
Yeah, and that's not always available. And that was the next question I was going to ask you. And we also touched on this earlier, especially like we didn't really have a chance. We've had a lot of fathers on here, but we've never really asked, you know, about the whole fatherless generation, because that's a big thing going on. We're looking to get a advocate on here who does some, you know, full-on work with the fatherless generation. But I would love for you, if you want to touch on that, you know, however much you want to say about it. I think it's important, especially with what's going on at this point. Yeah.
Well, let me touch on that. I'll give you my personal opinion, as well as, you know, what I've been seeing for years, and a lot of other people have the same opinion. Is, you know, we're encouraging single homes as a society, and through the judiciary system, and through the government. We're incentivizing, you know, parents and children to be separated, similar to 400 years ago. Is that the way we want to do things? Do we want to continue making money off of you know, disadvantaged people? Right? Where are we going? We're looking at police brutality. We're looking at racism these days. It's, you know, it's spiraled out of control to where people are saying defund the police, right? Now we're saying defund family court. How far are we going to fall before we say enough is enough?
Mm-hmm.
Family is very important to our human survival.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah. You know, when the government's making money off of the, you know, technically children, you know, who would agree with that? I don't think there's any of us here. None of us agree with that. Why is that? Why are we? This is a global thing too. That's the thing, is it's not just Canada. It's not just the United States. This is happening all over the world.
And it's not just happening now, it's happening in our future, because it is happening now. So we're established unless, you know, I mean, there's a lot of good things coming out of this, but unless we could continue this momentum of what's been happening, then we can't, then our children are the ones who need to live on this earth, you know, in 30, 40, 50, 60 years and into the future. What kind of, you know, society and earth are we going to have if we can't? This is our responsibility to set this up right for them.
There's somebody at a disadvantage here, though, that it's just, I don't even have words for it. It's just sad. Right.
And people like Warren Farrell have been trying to coach this for years now. I mean, and I'm just glad that, you know, the government's starting to listen. But it's not enough. We need to move a lot faster. We need to stop doing what we're doing. Reform family court, you know, reform the judiciary system, reform the criminal law, because all it's doing is costing us, costing our children, costing our future, going down the wrong direction. You look at countries like Japan and how, you know, their birth rate is is down the tubes. Their marriage rate is down the tubes. U.S. is heading down that path. Canada's heading down that path. Immigration is only going to help so much, but we need to take a step back and look at the situation as a whole and say, enough is enough. We're not going to do this anymore. We need to put a stop to it. Here's how we correct it. Let's do it for a couple of years and then think about making money later on. I don't know what we need to, but we absolutely need to correct, put some Band-Aids onto the path. And what we're doing right now is not putting a Band-Aid on.
No. You know what?
COVID, it's not 19. I mean, the courts now have a lot more accountability, have to be virtual. You know, they're now being watched, but there's still ways around all of that, which is what I've been finding through looking at cases and case law. They're not doing what they should be doing, and it needs to correct itself. It needs to stop.
Yeah, you know, what's interesting though is, and everybody's coming up with whatever their idea or reasoning behind why this is happening, but it's, why all of this is happening, it started off with COVID, then it moved into, you know, the racism thing, and then now thing, I don't even want to use that word, I don't even know what to say at that. And then it's going to move into something else. The bottom line is that my belief is that we are all one. And we have also, based off of many leaders over the past centuries, many centuries, have been separated. And that's what they go with, divide and conquer. And so people, you know, especially after being at home for so long and being isolated, that was a division right there. So everybody's at home, they're either freaking out or they're recognizing what's wrong with our society. You know, there are two things happening at the same time. So these people who are recognizing what's wrong, the consciousness of these people are rising to a point where they can see, oh my God, we've got to do something. So all these people are starting to come up with these other things. I think that it's important that people open themselves up to recognizing that we're all in this together, and it's not the government as an umbrella that's going to help us. It's ourselves, through ourselves,
Right.
with each other, talking to each other, helping each other, connecting with each other. And the reason I'm saying this, and this is so important to me, this happened.
We need to be
What?
listening.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and obviously, this isn't the first time this stuff has happened. One of my favorite movies is about Aaron Gruel, and it's called Freedom Riders. And it was about the race riots in the early 90s when, I forgot his name.
Rodney
But
King.
what?
Rodney King?
Yes, the Rodney King. Okay. So basically what was going on at that point was, if you haven't seen the movie, it's amazing. You've got to see it, but I'm going to spoil it for you. But Aaron Gruel was a teacher, and at that point, they were desegregating some schools in the LA area. And so they had, her job was to teach inner city kids that were coming in from the segregated school system. So you've got kids in there that were in gangs, all gangs. And they're all mixed together. And when they come in at the beginning of the movie, they're all separated in their gangs, right? And so she takes her time trying to understand what to do. At the beginning, she's a brand new teacher, has no clue what to do. And it's all a true story. And finally, she gets to the point where she buys them all these journals and has them write down their story. And then at some point, this is how she kept going with this, but she had them each read their story. They would stand in a circle, I think it was, and then she would have them read it. And everybody started hearing that all the stories were similar.
Right.
And so they don't even know why they hate each other, but then they start to hear that and they're like, wait a minute, they're going through the same thing I'm going through. And then she did something, and I've seen other people do this before. She had them line up on both sides. I think she separated them by their gangs when she did that. And then she would say, okay, if this happened to you, step into the middle. And then both sides would do that, and they look at each other, and they literally broke that barrier down by just allowing that to happen. And it was so powerful, and it's possible. That's the thing, is it's possible because it's been done. It's been proven, it works. And she's still doing things with Freedom Riders. And this is 40 years ago, 30 years ago, whatever it was. I can't count anymore. But that's what we need. That's the communication right there. It's like bringing people together and showing them just how alike they are rather than just how different they are, you know. And when we come together, we build on that, and then we can make things happen this way. It's not about this top-down thing and trusting everything outside of ourselves and all that garbage. It starts here.
So I have a question about this.
Okay.
Well, it doesn't matter. Whichever one of you know.
Okay.
In these questions and in this experiment that she did, or that anybody has done, was it determined off of that most of these kids may have been raised in a fatherless home?
Well, most of the kids that were coming from the homes in the disenfranchised neighborhoods, were from fatherless homes. I don't know if they actually said that, but most of them were, they alluded to it in their stories. Daddy wasn't home, daddy wasn't available, you know, that type of thing.
Yeah,
so it was alluded to that, but I don't remember if it was like specifically said.
And I think it's important that fathers are in the home because it balances it out. And, you know, there's certain things that mothers teach children. There's certain things that fathers teach children. And when you have a father removed from the home, the mother is probably overburdened, especially if she has a lot of children. And that makes it hard for that control or that discipline. And there's all kinds of things that having a fatherless home could really kind of play into that.
Yeah, yeah. And
There's also motherless homes as well, and I had a friend
Right.
elementary through to high school that went through that, and I mean, you grew up fine. A lot of people that go through fatherless homes grew up somehow stable, right? I commend my friends for sticking it out and doing what they need to do.
Because maybe they have
not everyone can do that, and the stats show for themselves. You look at the jail cells, you look at incarceration rates, you ask those guys what kind of home, what kind of family setting did you have? The majority of them are going to say that they grew up in a single home.
Yeah.
I want to put my NPO hat on right now and just say that one of the things as the chair for National Parents Organization in Florida, but our whole country or our world, is that the numbers are concerning when it comes to mothers that number is growing. And
yes.
The concern that I have is that, we talk a lot about, this is more fathers losing custodies. The problem with mothers losing custody is that once that number gets equivalent, we've really lost families. Mm-hmm. So we've got to keep these numbers down. We got to reduce fathers. We got to keep them, mothers from losing custody. There's got to be shared parenting. They both have to be involved in the children's lives, because otherwise we lose control over having a family.
Well, all you have to do is look at the incarceration rates of women. That's skyrocketing right now, more than men.
For women?
Yeah.
Wow. So what's happened? This is in Winnipeg?
No, this is not in Winnipeg. I'm talking about your country.
I thought you said
I still have yet to do some analysis on incarcerations in Canada, but I was watching a documentary, and then that's exactly what the stats they were showing.
Now, are we talking about incarceration from not paying child support, or are we talking about general incarceration?
Incarceration in general.
Yeah, because
you have the whole domestic violence aspect of it. You have more women with bipolar issues and anger issues now.
That all goes back to how we were raised. That all of it goes back to, and it also goes back to the insidious nature of how this country is like breaking apart. It goes into every, like, I can't talk about the neighborhoods, the Black neighborhoods, the worst of the worst neighborhoods, the Hispanic neighborhoods. I can't talk about that, but what I do know is that there's a whole nother, realm of discussion about that, so, and then incarceration for that. Then there's recidivism. I was married to a prison guard for my second husband was a prison guard, and I'm listening to some of the stuff that he says, and I can't even believe what he's saying to me, because the mentality that they have, that they don't even care why the person's in there, they're still going to treat them like whatever. And so they're already being treated poorly once they get into prison. And so when they get out, they can't live out there. They can't live in here. Where are they supposed to? How? We're not like helping these people. So we're getting more people.
It's not there. Exactly.
Right.
It would be really helpful if we could find a way to actually get statistics on all of these different, situations and what it has to do with the home life. We don't really have that. And right now our courts aren't even required to keep a record. So we don't even have good statistics on just, divorces and that kind of stuff. I mean, we know who got a divorce, but that's pretty much it. We don't know who's sitting in prison that is, there because they didn't pay child support.
Well, that's why we need academia's help to do studies, right?
Yeah.
And it's not, 2009 was we had a conservative government here, Harper pretty much put a stop to Divorce Act statistics. But there are ways still to get statistics, and it's through academia. So we gotta utilize our resources.
But
just for
MPO
that.
does. MPO does the research, and that's when they came out with the shared parenting report card for each state. So that's just one level, but there's so many other levels of research and statistics that we could really use. But it's a monster. It's hard to decide where to start, and what topic are we going to start with?
Okay, I have an answer. I've got the answer. I'm gonna save the world. You ready for this one?
Let's hear it. Superwoman.
Lo-
Or is it Wonder Woman? I don't know which one it is, but
yeah, I don't know. Wonder Woman. Yeah. Love yourself.
Sorry, Wonder Person.
What? No, that's fine. Love yourself and love each other. Peace. No, seriously, there's a lot to that. When we heal ourselves, we can get to the point where we can love ourselves, even though we go through moments like today, like I did, and you did, and you did. But if we can get to that point where we can feel that love for ourselves, we can be a beacon like you are doing. I mean, that's the most important. It sounds corny. It sounds hippie-ish. It's like peace and love, man, whatever that is. But there's something to that.
Oh, I think that there is a lot of value in what you're doing and what you're offering to people. And I think that you are an expert on this stuff. You've gone through it. You have lived experience. You've learned. You've been coached yourself. So you're there. You're that.
Thank you. I'm going to continue trying. And
yeah.
Both of you and everyone else. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. I mean,
you guys are a beacon.
Oh, we can all look. So we got 3 beacons, and we all shine even brighter when we're together, right? So we can envelop more people.
I love it.
Okay, sorry, I went into my hippie chick mode.
We're becoming a family, so you're part of our family.
You're part of mine as well.
Yeah, but I mean,
I'm sure you can hear my family in the background here.
Oh, that's fine.
They're part of us too.
I'm smiling every time I hear one of your children. I hear them in the background and I start smiling. I'm like, yeah, that's the way it's supposed to work. We have a little bit of child energy here. But yeah, I mean, I'm looking at your eyes right now. You have I have to say this, and I apologize if I embarrass you because that's not my intention, but you have got such, I can see your soul, and it's such a beautiful, kind soul. And I don't even know how to express this without making, all right. Anyway, but do you hear me? Just take it in. Just take it in. Seriously, you're doing an amazing job. Thank you for being here. I'm so grateful for having you here. Yeah, I mean, people, come on.
Thank you. Well, I'm going to throw it right back at you, and thank you for being the movie star that you are. And Don,
movie star. Superstar.
Where's her star on the
At least in my daughter's eyes. So.
All right, you know what? If she wants an autograph, I will send you an autograph. How's that?
All right. Sounds good.
You let me know. All right. Well, do you want to say anything else before I ask you the last question?
No, I think we're good.
Okay.
Quite a bit. So yeah, go ahead and ask me the last and final question.
The last and final question. Well, actually, there's 2. One is for those people who, I'm assuming you only work with people in Canada or where you are. You work, are you online helping people?
I'm online.
You are. Okay. So can you
I'm a mentor as part of a couple groups. So.
Okay, perfect. Just as one way, I'm sure there's a few different ways, but can you give everybody one way that they can contact you if they need your guidance or your help or your love or whatever you can offer to them? How would they get in contact with you?
Through my Facebook page, Junior Witter, Facebook.
Junior Witter,
yeah.
Witter.
We'll put that in the comments.
Yeah. Okay.
Slide that has all your info.
Okay. Perfect. And then I think the last thing I'd like for you to, however you say it, it's okay. What do you want to say to people about, anything, just to help parents or to help other people who are you know, dealing with what's going on, whatever, anything, just the floor is yours.
What comes from my gut? Let's see. You just have, basically, parents out there, you just have to go through the motions and, you know, find your chi in order to help your children. Focus on your children. Don't be selfish. Take that step back. Look at the overall picture. That's exactly what I did, and that's what other people have done to get through this traumatic experience that you're going through. And once you do that, then the healing process will start.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Junior. Oh my gosh.
Love and compassion. Love and compassion.
Love and compassion. There it is.
You know, there's something to say for unconditional positive regard.
Mhm.
You need that in all aspects of our lives, especially today. If we all had that unconditional positive regard, think about what we wouldn't be witnessing right now.
That's true. Yeah. Thank you. Good point.
Yeah.
So
Humanity.
She taught me that.
she told me that. Who did?
Elise.
Elise. I knew, yeah. Because I remember you saying, now I'm hearing that more often. I love that.
Yeah.
We have somebody? Do
Yeah, we have a guest.
We have a guest. Yay!
Aw. Aw, what a cutie.
Beautiful. Hi. What a doll. And he's right. Oh, look at his smile. Who's that, Mommy? Is that Mommy?
TV.
Yeah. Come on.
Oh my God, that's so awesome. Thank you for
Bring
that.
everybody in. Let's see the whole
Child energy. Let's see what else we have. Let's see who else we have.
Well,
Hi, honey. Hi.
I think my wife is shy, but
Okay, wife can be shy. That's okay. This one's not shy.
what's the point? Can you point?
Aw. Aw.
That.
Adorable.
Thank you for coming on here. We're glad you're here. Such a beauty.
What?
You're welcome. All right, Junior. I want you to get back
All
to
right,
your
I
family.
got some diapers to change, and
Oh yeah, see that's kind of important, right?
Let's close this out and then don't go away just yet. We'll talk just as soon as I hit stop recording. But we want to thank everybody for listening, and thank you, Junior, for sharing your story
so much
and your words of advice and everything that you do to advocate for people. So we just want to tell you how much we appreciate you and welcome.
Yeah, absolutely.
thank you.
Absolutely. Thank
We
you.
appreciate you guys as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My sweetheart.